What's up, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today, we are tackling one of the biggest, most argued about topics in all of sports, the Heisman Trophy. We're talking snubs, we're talking curses, and what it really means to win college football's greatest honor. This isn't just about a bronze statue, folks. It's about legacy, and every single year it causes a ton of drama. So let's just get right to it. Who is the best player in college football? I mean, that's the question, right? It's what we all argue about from August all the way through December. And every year, one award, the Heisman, tries to give us a definitive answer. But as you're about to find out, it's never that simple. All right, so here's the game plan for today. We're going to kick things off with this year's finalists, then dive right into the juicy stuff, the biggest snubs. After that, we'll break down what the Heisman even is, how the winner gets picked, and get into that infamous Heisman curse. And we'll wrap it all up by asking, is this trophy still the be-all and end-all? Okay, let's do it. First up, the 2025 Heisman finalists. These are the guys who got the invite to the big show in New York City. First on the list, Fernando Mendoza, the QB from Indiana. And listen, this guy didn't just have a good season, he had a great one. He was so good he actually swept the other big QB awards, grabbing both the Maxwell and the Davey O'Brien. You know, that monster game he had against Michigan State, we're talking over 400 yards and 4 touchdowns, that probably punched his ticket right to New York. Next up, we've got Julian Sayin, the quarterback for the Ohio State Buckeyes. He was basically the perfect engine for an undefeated regular season team. I mean, the stats are just nuts. He led the entire nation in passing efficiency and tossed 45 touchdowns with only count 'em, 2 interceptions, just lights out. All right, breaking up the quarterback party, we have Jeremiyah Love, the running back from Notre Dame. This guy was an absolute powerhouse for the Fighting Irish. Seriously, a total nightmare for defenses. He bulldozed his way to over 1,500 yards and led the country with 20 rushing touchdowns. Just an incredible season. And wrapping up our finalists, we have Diego Pavia, the QB from Vanderbilt. Now, this is a cool story. He pretty much single-handedly dragged the Commodores to their first winning season in over a decade. He led the whole SEC in total offense and just kept making these insane highlight reel plays that voters simply could not ignore. Okay, so those 4 guys, all incredible, no doubt. But you know what sparks the biggest arguments every year? It's not who's on the list, it's who got left off. So let's get into it, the biggest snubs of the year. Let's kick this off with a perfect example, Haynes King from Georgia Tech. Just look at this comparison. On one side, you have the stats of a typical finalist. On the other, you have King's numbers. He was responsible for over 3,600 total yards of offense and 27 touchdowns, and he completely turned that Georgia Tech program around. His stats are right there with the guys who got the invite, but he was left at home. A lot of people were not happy about that. But maybe, just maybe, the biggest snub of all wasn't even an offensive player. Look, the Heisman has this notorious bias against guys on defense, which is what makes the story of Jacob Rodriguez from Texas Tech so frustrating for so many. As the Pro Football Scout Network put it, if there was ever a defensive player deserving of a seat in New York, it was Rodriguez. And when you see his stats, you'll get why. I mean, just look at this stat line. 114 tackles, 4 interceptions, and 7 forced fumbles. Are you kidding me? He was the heart and soul of that Red Raiders team that won the Big 12 championship. To put it in perspective, his season was right up there with Manti Te'o's back in 2012, and Te'o was the Heisman runner-up. Yet Rodriguez finished 5th in the voting, the first guy out. Ouch. So all this talk about finalists and snubs kind of leads to a bigger question, right? Like, what even is the Heisman Trophy? To really get why there's so much debate, you gotta look at its history. Okay, so here's the official definition. It's awarded to the most outstanding player in college football. But that's not all. See that last part? Whose performance best exhibits the pursuit of excellence with integrity. That's key. It's not supposed to be just about the best stats. It's also about character. And that's a big reason why it's considered the most prestigious award in all of college sports. And this timeline is super interesting because it shows you how the award has changed over time. It started way back in 1935, but it wasn't even called the Heisman then. It was the DAC Trophy. Now, get this. It took over 60 years before a defensive player, the one and only Charles Woodson, finally won it.
And it wasn't until 2012 that a freshman, the legendary Johnny Manziel, could take it home. So clearly, what we consider most outstanding has definitely evolved over the years.
Okay, so how on earth do they pick just one winner? The voting process is actually kind of secretive, but it explains a lot about why we get snubs like Jacob Rodriguez and why QBs and running backs always seem to have a leg up. All right, check this out. The group of people who actually gets a vote is pretty small and exclusive. As you can see, almost all the votes, 870 of them, come from sports media members. Then you've got the 59 living Heisman winners. They each get a vote. And the fans, all of us, our nationwide vote gets combined to count as one. Just a single vote. So, yeah, what the media thinks is absolutely everything. And the ballot itself is pretty straightforward. It's a simple 3-2-1 point system. Each voter picks their top 3 guys. Their number 1 choice gets 3 points, number 2 gets 2 points, and number 3 gets 1 point. All the points get added up, and whoever has the most wins. So it's not always about who gets the most first-place votes. It's about racking up the most total points. And this chart right here, this says it all. This perfectly shows you the historical bias of the award. I mean, look at that first bar. It's almost entirely quarterbacks and running backs. Then you have this tiny little bar for wide receivers and tight ends. And then, look at the defenders. 2. Just 2 winners in almost 90 years. When you see this, the Jacob Rodriguez snub makes a whole lot more sense, doesn't it? Okay, so winning the Heisman is supposed to be the highlight of a player's life, right? The ultimate dream. But for some, well, that dream can turn into a bit of a nightmare. It's time to talk about the spooky, the infamous Heisman curse. So this so-called curse actually has 2 different parts. The first part of the superstition is that after you win the Heisman, your team is doomed to lose its final bowl game of the season. The second part, the one everyone talks about, is that winning the Heisman means you're destined to have a bust of a career in the NFL. So, let's settle it. The NFL curse. Fact or fiction? Well, the truth is, it's complicated. For every Heisman winner who flamed out in the pros, like a Troy Smith or a Matt Leinart, you've got an absolute legend like Barry Sanders or Charles Woodson, who went on to the Hall of Fame. You can see right here, the list of curse breakers is just as impressive as the victims. It's really more of a fun thing for fans to argue about than a proven fact. But that other part of the curse, the bowl game part, yeah, that felt pretty real for a while. There was this stretch in the 2000s where Heisman winners went a mind-boggling 1-5 in their bowl games. And a bunch of those losses were in the national championship. That's the period that really cemented the idea of the curse in everyone's mind, even though winners have had a lot more luck recently. So, okay, we've talked snubs, we've talked voting, we've talked curses. All of this brings us to one final big picture question. In today's game, what does the Heisman really even represent anymore? Think about it. College football is changing so fast. We're moving to a 12-team playoff, which is all about crowning the best team. Players are making big money now with NIL deals. So in this new world that's all about championships and getting paid, does an individual award, does being the most outstanding player still matter the most? Does this trophy still have the same weight it used to? And that's a real question I want to ask you guys. What do you think? Does the Heisman still mean more than a national championship ring? And who was your biggest snub this year? Drop your thoughts in the comments section below. I really want to hear what you have to say. All right, that's going to do it for this one. If you had fun breaking all this down with me, do me a huge favor and hit that like button. Share this with your friends, and of course, subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any more explainers like this one. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll catch you in the next one.